and playing 4 games and then not, and like not feeling the best, and then like frustrated of like how hard I worked in the off season, and then like all I do is rehab and like continue to do this process and just like trying to trust that the best I can. And obviously there's really frustrating days, and there's days where like it's a little bit easier and like you're very, very motivated and like you're close to the finish line of getting back and being back, and then like it's not like I have a training camp to like build up to like playing my first game again. It's like, no, like you're tossed into game 30.
The WNBA's biggest star might have just been given an expiration date, and the clock is already ticking. For months, fans have whispered, insiders have speculated, and now the rumors are getting louder. Caitlin Clark's future in the league could end far sooner than anyone expected. And if that happens, the shockwaves won't just hit her career. They'll rock the entire foundation of the WNBA. Because this isn't just about one player's story, this is about a league's survival. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto a WNBA court for the first time, it felt like a new era was being born. She wasn't just a rookie, she was the face of a revolution. Ratings spiked, arenas sold out, and fans who had never watched a WNBA game suddenly had a reason to tune in. She brought a college fan base that followed her into the pros, and that kind of crossover doesn't happen every day. But from the start, it was clear the league didn't quite know how to handle its biggest star. Instead of protecting her and setting her up for long-term dominance, they threw her straight into the fire. Her offseason was supposed to be a time to prepare for dominance. Instead, it was derailed by rehab and recovery. She came back from injury only to be tossed straight into the grind of the season, playing through pain, fatigue, and a target on her back. No training camp to get into rhythm, no careful minutes restriction to protect her health. Just non-stop, high-intensity games. And every night, she was the headline attraction. Every city, every arena, every opposing team saw the same thing. This is our chance to take down Caitlin Clark. The physicality was on another level. WNBA defenders weren't just contesting shots. They were making contact every single possession. Hard screens that felt more like football tackles. Off-ball shoves that somehow went unnoticed. Every time she hit the floor, the crowd gasped, and yet, the whistles stayed silent, over and over again. Fans began to question what was really going on. Was the league ignoring these fouls because they didn't want Clark to dominate too much, too soon? Or was it something even deeper? A quiet resistance to the idea of one player becoming too powerful in shaping the league's image? And then there were the refs.
This is something that do not be surprised if President Trump speaks on with that kind of audience that is protective of a Caitlin Clark and what she stands for and what she represents. And they come to a conclusion that they believe she is being unfairly treated. That is going to be a problem for the WNBA. And based on Trump's history with the NFL and him being an obvious sports fan, goes to events and stuff like that, he pays attention to this kind of stuff. I'm just warning them, watch it, because if he gets involved and that base gets involved, because somehow, some way they embrace victimhood on a part of
Night after night, the officiating seemed almost targeted. Ticky-tack calls against Clark on defense. Swallowed whistles when she drove to the rim. Key moments in close games where the whistle never came. Clips went viral on social media. Fans made side-by-side comparisons, showing how the same contact that sent another player to the line was ignored when Clark was involved. And when confronted, the league gave the same generic answers. Officials are doing their best. Physical play is part of the game. But to the fans who watched every game, it was obvious. She wasn't being given the same protection as the league's other stars. Then came the rumors. Whispers that Caitlin Clark might not even finish out her rookie contract in the WNBA. Some claimed she was already considering overseas offers. Others said she was looking at short-term deals to keep her options open. And why wouldn't she? The overseas leagues, especially in Europe, offer higher pay, larger roles, and a level of respect that sometimes seems missing at home. In the EuroLeague, she wouldn't be treated as just a storyline to sell tickets. She'd be treated as the centerpiece of a championship run. Fans started imagining it. Clark in a sold-out EuroLeague final, draining logo threes while an entire arena chants her name. Clark on a team built entirely around her, with a coach who gives her full freedom to create. And in those fantasies, one thing kept standing out. There were no missed whistles, no media spin to downplay her performance, just pure, high-level basketball. the kind that reminds you why you fell in love with the game in the first place. Meanwhile, in the WNBA, the marketing felt off. Instead of leaning into Clark's skill, her vision, her ability to take over games, the league kept pushing the Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese narrative. And sure, rivalries sell, if they're authentic. But this one felt manufactured. It wasn't Magic versus Bird. It wasn't Serena versus Venus. This was a league trying to take a real competitive moment from college and stretch it into a season-long headline, even when the games themselves didn't always match the hype. And Clark could feel it. The energy wasn't about her basketball anymore. It was about creating drama. She kept grinding, though. Kept putting in the hours, kept showing up, kept leading.
Man, this whole season, Caitlin Clark went down early. You even had at one point Sophie Cunningham going down for a little bit. But one thing I can say is that a lot of these players like Kelsey Mitchell, Leah Boston, Natasha Howard stayed the course. You know, when you want to make it to that next level, especially in the second half of the season, going to make an impact all throughout the league, you have to stay the course.
But it was clear she was carrying more than just the weight of her own performance. She was carrying the league's hopes, the fan expectations, and the constant criticism from those waiting for her to fail. Every missed shot was dissected, every turnover magnified. And when she did succeed, it was sometimes brushed off as overrated hype. Behind the scenes, agents and insiders were watching closely. They know the numbers. They know the sponsorships. They know exactly how much of the league's current success can be traced back to Clark's presence. And they also know what happens if she walks away. Without her, the ratings dip isn't just a small decline. It's a free fall. Merchandise sales slow to a crawl. Networks start rethinking their broadcast deals. Those casual fans who tuned in for Clark, they move on to something else. The WNBA could try to play it cool, but fans would see the truth. They'd notice the half-empty arenas. They'd notice the drop in national coverage.
Point, I think we all can agree that Caitlin Clark is going to be returning to action, but the question I have for all of you is, how many games do you think she needs under her belt going into playoff time for her to get into the swing of things? You want to see her play nothing in the regular season? First game back, she's in a series against the Phoenix Mercury. First game back, she's in a series against the Atlanta Dream. Do you want to see her play the 5 games remaining in the schedule?
And they'd notice how quickly the next star narrative struggles to catch on. Because the reality is, players like Caitlin Clark don't come around every year. Her combination of skill, confidence, and marketability is rare. And once it's gone, it's gone. If Clark leaves, it won't be a quiet exit. It'll be a moment that forces every WNBA executive to look in the mirror, to ask why they couldn't keep their biggest star happy, healthy, and fully committed. Some will blame the physicality of the game. Some will blame the refereeing. Some will even blame Clark herself. But deep down, they'll know. They had the golden ticket in their hands and they let it slip away. Fans will remember too. They'll remember the nights she lit up the scoreboard. They'll remember the deep threes that made crowds erupt. They'll remember the way she made them care about the WNBA in a way they never had before. And they'll remember how, in the end, the league couldn't match her ambition. Years from now, Caitlin Clark might be sitting in a European arena, signing autographs for a line of fans that stretches out the door. She'll be making more money, winning more games, and playing the game she loves without the constant noise. And somewhere, in a quiet WNBA office, someone will be looking at the empty seats and wondering how it all went so wrong. Because when Caitlin Clark leaves, if she leaves, it won't just be the end of a chapter. It'll be the end of an era. And the saddest part? Everyone saw it coming. The thing about losing a star like Caitlin Clark is that it's never just about losing points on the scoreboard. It's about losing the identity of the league. She is not just a player. She's a living, breathing storyline. The type of figure sports leagues pray for but rarely get. The kind of athlete whose highlights trend on every platform, whose jersey sales crush every record, and whose games become must-watch events even for people who didn't know the WNBA season had started. If she's gone, the league won't just have to fill her spot. They'll have to replace the electricity she brought to every arena. And here's the hard truth. You can't fake that. You can market, you can promote, you can push a new face all you want, but magic like that can't be manufactured in a boardroom. The tension between Clark and the WNBA isn't new. It's been building in small ways all season. The subtle signs were there, the quiet frustrations in post-game interviews.
Some bad news for those who are fans of pretend basketball, for those who are desperate to see the WNBA succeed, even though this dump of a league can't seem to get the hell out of their own way. Now, the WNBA, they refer to these people as fans, but the rest of us, we prefer to call them the mainstream media. The good news is, WNBA ratings have been somewhat solid, even though Caitlin Clark has missed damn near the entire...
The moments where she looked more irritated with officiating than locked in on the game plan. The nights where she'd finish a game battered and bruised, and instead of celebrating the win, she was answering questions about whether she was too soft for the league's physicality. It's absurd when you think about it, that the player bringing in the most fans is the same player getting roughed up every night without consistent protection. The whispers from inside locker rooms tell an even bigger story. Opponents talk about sending a message when they guard her. Coaches design defensive schemes not just to stop her from scoring, but to wear her down physically. And over time, it's not just the body that breaks, it's the spirit. And here's where things get dangerous for the WNBA. In the modern sports world, players have options. This isn't the 1990s where a league could take a star for granted and assume she'd stay because there was nowhere else to go. Today, there are leagues in Europe and Asia willing to pay big money, offer star treatment, and put players like Clark in systems designed to maximize their abilities. The moment she decides she's had enough, there will be a line of contracts ready for her signature. Her management team knows this. The sponsors know this. Even the networks know this. Which is why the speculation around her future isn't just rumor. It's a quiet reality everyone is preparing for. Think about it. If you're a major sponsor tied to Caitlin Clark, do you really care if she plays in the WNBA or the EuroLeague, as long as her games are televised and her brand stays strong? Probably not. And if you're Clark, why wouldn't you go where you're appreciated and protected? But here's where it gets even more intriguing. The fans are starting to turn their frustration toward the league itself. Social media is filled with clips of questionable calls, replays of hard fouls, and side-by-side comparisons of how other stars get different treatment.
Swept in 2 games. But the WNBA, man, these players have been acting like they are victims. Now, Caitlin Clark has brought a whole bunch of eyes to the WNBA. And what do these players actually do? Folks, it has gotten really, really ridiculous, man, in the WNBA, because all these players are screaming racism. But the fans, yes, they are attacking the...
The narrative is shifting from can Caitlin Clark handle the WNBA to can the WNBA handle Caitlin Clark? That's not a good look for a league trying to grow its audience. Imagine this scenario. Caitlin Clark announces she's leaving for Europe. Within hours, the headlines explode across every sports network. ESPN runs a special segment asking if this is the beginning of the end for the WNBA's growth spurt. Social media floods with fans saying they'll follow her overseas. And suddenly, the next WNBA season starts without its biggest draw. Ratings drop, attendance dips, and the league scrambles to push new stars into the spotlight. But without Clark as the anchor, the momentum fades fast. And it wouldn't just be a business hit, it would be a cultural one. Clark has a way of pulling in fans who otherwise wouldn't watch women's basketball. She bridges the gap between the college game and the pros in a way no player in recent memory has done. If she walks away, that bridge collapses. The casual fans drift away, the rivalries lose their edge, and the sense that something big is happening in the WNBA fades. All of this could still be avoided, but only if the league makes real changes. That means better officiating.
Numbers without the roof from Waterloo look great. Instead of a freshly baked turd with no activity, there are definitely some flies attracted to this unbelievably bad product. In some cases, I've heard the WNBA even managed to attract a horsefly or two. But WNBA players, they are demanding million-dollar contracts, million-dollar salaries. WNBA players are demanding a larger portion of revenue. Now, notice their demands involve revenue, not profit. If the WNBA implemented a profit-sharing model, the players would...
That means taking player safety seriously. That means creating an environment where Clark and players like her feel valued beyond their ability to sell tickets. And it means stopping the over-manufacturing of drama for the sake of headlines. But so far, the league's actions haven't matched the urgency of the situation. They still push the same rivalry narratives, still allow overly physical play to go unchecked, and still seem content to ride the wave without thinking about what happens when it crashes. For Clark, the decision will come down to one thing. Where can she play her best basketball without feeling like she's constantly fighting battles off the court? If the answer isn't the WNBA, then fans need to prepare themselves for a reality they don't want to face. Because when stars like Clark leave, they don't usually come back. And that's the part that should terrify the WNBA. Because this isn't just about Caitlin Clark the player, it's about Caitlin Clark the symbol. The symbol of what the league could be if it embraced her fully. The symbol of the future they keep advertising but can't seem to protect in the present. And if that symbol walks away, it sends a message to every other player, every fan, and every sponsor. The WNBA still doesn't know how to handle greatness. By the time the league realizes what it's lost, it'll be too late. The highlights will be coming from overseas. The sold-out arenas will be in a different country, and Caitlin Clark's name will still be trending. But the WNBA will be an afterthought in her story. That's the danger of taking your brightest star for granted. You might not notice the darkness creeping in until the light is already gone.